Thank you.
Reprise du débat, continuing debate to the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And, you know, over the last number of years, what we have seen is a government that has brought forward legislative measures and budgetary measures to ensure that we have a healthier middle class, that we continue to create jobs, that we have an economy that works for all of us, Mr. Speaker, no matter what region of the country we're talking about. You know, when I think in terms of issues, I go to the residents of Winnipeg North, and I listen to what they actually have to say. We hear a lot about inflation. So I'm glad the motion that we have before us deals at least in part with the issue of inflation. We also hear a lot of concern in regards to the environment. And once again, we have a motion, this very same motion, the second part of it deals with the environment. So I'd like to spend the next 9 or 10 minutes talking about both of those issues. I'd like to be able to demonstrate contrast between the Conservative Party of Canada and what it is that the Government of Canada has actually been doing. On the issue of inflation, you have to take into perspective what's happening around the world. Canada, compared to other countries, whether it's the United States, Germany, Europe, all European countries, the United Kingdom, our inflation rate is actually less. But we understand that we just don't sit back and say, look at what's happening around the world and we don't need to do anything because our inflation rate is less. Rather, we have come up with a number of programs and thoughts to help Canadians through inflation as much as possible, Mr. Speaker. Let me give you a few of the examples that are very tangible. We eliminated the interest for students. We doubled the goods and services in the short term for 6 months, Mr. Speaker, the credit. We've put forward the dental program, Mr. Speaker, which is going to help children under the age of 12. We brought in rental support, the Canada Workers Benefit, Mr. Speaker. These are the types of programs that we're bringing in to support Canadians on inflation. How does that contrast to the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada? I have now heard this is the second real tangible idea that the Conservative Party is talking about. They want to get rid of the price on pollution. They've made that very clear. That's the second one. What was the first one, Mr. Speaker? Should come to no surprise, it's the cryptocurrency flash. Remember the idea that the leader of the Conservative Party, not that long ago, said the way you fight inflation is you invest in cryptocurrency. That's the message. That was one of the first policy stands going out, Mr. Speaker, in regards to fighting inflation. And I said before inside the House, can you imagine those that would have followed that stupid idea, Mr. Speaker? And they would have lost life savings if they would have invested their savings into it, Mr. Speaker. But seriously, that is the first economic inflation-fighting policy I heard from the Conservative Party. Now, we've heard them talk about this triple. I think you should pay some sort of a dividends to Tim Hortons for the double-double, Mr. Speaker. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about misinformation.
Yep.
Their second policy on fighting inflation, Mr. Speaker, is to spread false information. In fact, the leader of the Conservative Party proclaimed it today. They're going to get rid of the carbon pricing or price on pollution or carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. They were going to get rid of it. Well, it wasn't that long ago that there was 338 candidates, including the member that had made the statement that he's going to get rid of it, that campaigned at the doors in their policy platform. 338 Conservative candidates said that they believed in a price on pollution, Mr. Speaker. Oh, how things have flip-flopped once again. And the Conservative Party, in their spreading of misinformation, they're actually going to pay advertising. I think it kicked in today, coincidentally, with this particular motion, Mr. Speaker. What they're telling Canadians is that they're going to save them money by cutting the tax, cutting the price on pollution. Well, as you hear one member say, woo, another member saying, hear, hear. Well, Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that that's the misinformation that they are spreading. You know, in Winnipeg North, like every other constituency or most other constituents, the PBO, which is the Public Budget Officer, Mr. Speaker, Parliamentary Budget Officer, indicated, independent, made it very clear, 8 out of 10 households are going to get a net benefit. You know, in Manitoba, the household's going to get, a household of 4s, over $800 a year in quarterly payments, Mr. Speaker. If you cancel or get rid of the price on pollution, that rebate's gone too. And that rebate is more than 80% of my constituents are actually paying, Mr. Speaker. But they're going to try to mislead not only the residents of Winnipeg North, but all the provinces where the price on pollution is put in as a backstop to protect our environment, Mr. Speaker. They're going to try to give the impression that the price on pollution is going to put more money in their pockets. Balderdash. Mr. Speaker, that's just not true. And they know that. But you know, it's one thing to stand in the House for them to spread misinformation and even to go into the communities and some of these town halls possibly that they're having, but now they're going to be paying advertising. They've actually bought advertising spots to spread false facts, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would suggest to you that the Conservative Party currently, I think it's now, I'm told, you know, this will depress a lot of people. I think it's 150 days of the current leadership. It took one of the former leaders over 400 days. The current House leader used to be the leader. It took him over 400 days to come up with a plan on the environment. And his plan incorporated a price on pollution, Mr. Speaker. And now he's the deputy House leader. The leader that followed him, Mr. Speaker, actually made the commitment in which every one of them campaigned on, saying that there would be a price on pollution. How long is it going to take for the Conservative Party? How many more days, Mr. Speaker, is it going to take for the Conservative Party to be more transparent and honest with Canadians as to what their plan is with regards to the environment? Is their only line, bumper sticker going to be, we're going to cut and get rid of the price on pollution, as other jurisdictions around the world are incorporating what Canada has put into place, where 80% of Canadians are actually benefiting by it, and we're dealing with the environment at the same time, Mr. Speaker? There's a huge vacuum that is there that needs to be filled. We're waiting, and we will continue to wait, I suspect. How long is it going to be before the Conservatives start telling the truth as to what it is that they're going to be doing, Mr. Speaker, in terms of their environmental plan? All we know is they misled Canadians in the last federal election. All 338 of them, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
And we are going to be reminding Canadians that at one point, the Conservative Party in different leaderships supported the price on pollution. And at the end of the day, they have taken a flip-flop that's to the disadvantage of our environment, and it's going to hurt Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Questions and comments? Question